everyone, I hope you're well. From the title of this video, I'm sure you can tell that I'm pregnant. I'm expecting baby number 2 in March of 2021 and I'm so excited. I'll do a little scan of the pregnancy tests I had and I'm just going to get into how I found out and the differences between this pregnancy and my last one. So with this pregnancy, I was pretty sure that I was pregnant from quite early on. I don't know, you sort of get this feeling, and I wasn't really, my periods weren't regular anyway because I'd only just come back from where I'd been breastfeeding Theo, and yeah, so I wasn't knowing when to expect my period, and then I didn't know whether it was going to come that month or if it wasn't going to come that month because they were a bit on and off where I was still breastfeeding. I did take a hell of a lot of tests with this pregnancy. The same with Theo actually, because with Theo I was really sure I was pregnant and they just kept coming back negative. I didn't show a positive pregnancy test for Theo until I was 6 weeks pregnant, and so with this one, I don't know, I didn't know whether to expect the same or if I was expecting it to just come out positive. And yeah, we obviously hadn't planned the pregnancy and it was a bit of a shock, but there were little surprises sometimes. The symptoms I had this time with early pregnancy was that I needed to pee all the time. I had a few little cramps. I didn't really notice anything to do with like sore boobs or like anything like that because I was still breastfeeding, and so I feel like the symptoms almost were overridden by that because you obviously have symptoms of breastfeeding as well, like when your boobs get sore and things like that. So I didn't know whether I was confusing the two or if it was just from breastfeeding. This pregnancy has been a little more difficult than when I was pregnant with Theo, but I think that's mostly because I've had a toddler running around as well, so I've been running after him, and just because I've had a lot more going on, there's been a few more complications with this pregnancy and a lot more to think about. I've had quite a few checkups now. I'm currently 24 plus 3 days, which is really exciting, so I'm past the like validation mark. If baby was to be born now, then it'd have a very strong chance of survival. So everything's just looking really positive. So I don't know how it works in other countries, but here in England you have a midwife appointment between 8 and 10 weeks, and I went for that appointment. She came here, obviously we were still in the midst of the first lockdown. However, maternity appointments and prenatal appointments are all very important, and you do need to have them to ensure the baby's safe and growing properly and that your body is in a good condition to be able to be carrying a baby. So my midwife came here and just did some blood tests and different tests and took down information. She was so lovely, really impressed with her because my last midwife I didn't particularly like. She was just quite rude and blunt and didn't really care, just wanted you in and out as fast as possible. I explained all my worries about labour with her and what happened with Theo, and she was so supportive, and that is one thing I'm so glad about changing hospitals this time, because they've been more supportive than I could ever have imagined. So once you've had that 8 to 10 week midwife appointment and everything's fine, your blood work's fine, everything like that, they then send you a letter in the post for your 12-week scan, and you have an option to do all the tests to see if there's any issues with baby, which I always opt for just purely because then I can be prepared for anything that comes my way. And yeah, so I went for the 12-week scan, and unfortunately baby was really far back, so my uterus has moved quite a lot since I had Theo, and they couldn't really see much of baby, they couldn't get the measurements they needed, and so I was rebooked for the next week. However, when I went for the next week, the same thing happened again. They couldn't see what they needed to see, they couldn't get the measurements that they needed to get, and so I was asked to come back for a blood test instead. The blood test went fine, the results were fine. I will talk about the results and all the different things that come with that in another video, but you know, they didn't have many concerns, and you know, they just went on from there, and I was booked in for a 20-week scan. After my 20-week scan had been booked in, they called me and asked me to come in just for a specialist scan to check some of baby's organs and things like that, which we did. Everything looks really healthy, and baby's doing really well, growing really well, so that's really positive. However, I will be having more checkups and growth scans with this baby just because of some of the issues that have come with this pregnancy. Having that separate scan was actually quite interesting because I got to see a lot more of the baby than I thought I would. So you could see the brain and the heart and different organs a lot clearer than you would on a normal ultrasound, as it was with a specialist doctor who looks at the heart and things like that. But it's so clever and so interesting to see the different parts of the baby before it's even born. 2 weeks later, I then went back for my 20-week scan and they confirmed baby's gender, which is super exciting. I obviously didn't find out straight away. My lovely friend Alice did a lovely little gender reveal, which will be going up soon, and you can see that it was beautiful. What she did was so lovely. My symptoms with this pregnancy have been a lot different than they were with Theo. So I'm not really been showing that much. My bump's not that big. It looks a bit more like bloat than anything. However, when I was pregnant with Theo, I had a very defined bump by this point. It was very clear that I was pregnant, and things have just, I don't know whether that's because my uterus is a bit further back this time or if it's just because it's a different pregnancy. I don't know, but I'm healthy and that's the main thing. Baby's healthy, so that's really great. With Theo, I didn't really get that much morning sickness. I'd had a few days here and there that weren't great. However, with this one, every morning I would wake up in the first trimester and just feel so ill. Like, I'd have days where I couldn't even stand up. I just had to sit and rest in bed because my vertigo was really bad, and it's not normally that bad. And then recently I've just had this increased sense of smell that anything I don't like the smell of just makes me want to vomit. So it's just making sure there's no dirt around, there's no food that's gone off, anything like that, because anyone with a toddler knows that food can go anywhere and everywhere. So I just had to keep watching out where Theo's putting any food, because I can't do the smell. Anytime I smell it, for instance last night I was in bed and all I could smell was gone off food, and I've checked everywhere, there's no gone off food anywhere. I'd made sure all the food in the fridge was still in date, and I just had this overwhelming smell of gone off food, and it just made me want to throw up all night. The only symptom I've had that is the same with Theo is my craving for ice. And I know a lot of people have said to me before that you crave ice when your iron's low, but my blood tests say otherwise, so I'm not really sure what else to go on by that, just that my body wants more ice. I was quite nervous to tell my family, just because I'd already had a small child. Theo was about 10 months old when I got pregnant with this baby, so you know there's not going to be a huge amount of difference in the age. I am going to be having 2Under2 running around, but more excitement for me, I guess. I'm really excited for this baby just because it will be a lovely little sibling for Theo. I'm not too sure on how I'm going to introduce him to the baby yet, just because he still doesn't quite understand what other babies are, if that makes sense. So if you have any tips and tricks or ideas, then please let me know in the comments, just because I think I need some help with that. He can be quite gentle, but other times he's had like toy dolls and he's literally been throwing them around by the hair, so we'll have to see how that goes and just try and get him to be a bit more gentle with a toy baby instead. Fingers crossed for that. But there is my announcement. Sorry it's not as exciting as I hoped it to be. I did plan on videoing a few clips of me telling family and things like that, but I just didn't get around to it in the end, and it's quite a personal thing. But here it is. This is my platform that I haven't yet announced it on, and I'm back with my YouTube videos. There'll be 2 a week. They'll be every Thursday and Monday, and I'm really excited to just continue this journey with you all. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. It really helps my channel, and I'd love to hear from you all in the comments.